Today, we are back at John Kufleitner's in Salem, Ohio to take a look at this 1957 Dodge truck. But before we take the tour, if you're new to the channel, welcome. This channel, we cover classics, the vintage stuff, some exotics, lots of orphan cars. If that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, hit that subscribe button. Turn on all notifications by hitting the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. Okay, let's talk 1957 Dodge. Dodge used alphabetical abbreviations for their truck series. So this is considered a C series truck, and the C series trucks were sold between 1954 to 1960. They replaced the B series truck, and the D series truck replaced the C series truck in 1960. I don't know if any of you have seen a Dodge truck in the wild, but they are a lot smaller than the Ford or Chevy equivalents. They get bigger for the 57 model year, but they're not nearly as big as, say, a Chevy or a Ford from the same era. 1957 was a huge year for Dodge. It was the first year Dodge offered four-wheel drive as a factory-installed option. Before 1957, the Dodges were sold as W100. 100 was half ton. W200 was 3/4 ton. W300 was 1 ton, all the way up to 500, W500. They changed it. Why they didn't just put a C in front of it? They put a D in front of it to be like Ford with F100. So they did D100 was the half ton Dodge truck now. Dodge also offered in 57 the 12-volt electrical system, 3-speed automatic, as well as power brakes and power steering. 1957 was the first year Dodge ditched the butterfly-style hood for the more traditional hood that opens from the front as opposed to that opens from the sides. They kept the pilot house. That was what they called, that was the market jargon they used for their cab. When we get inside, you'll totally understand why. This is one of the smallest trucks, but it feels so big on the inside because of what they did to this cab. Let's talk about an elephant in the room. Fargo. What's Fargo? Fargo was a brand of truck sold by Chrysler in the United States, and they stopped selling it sometime in the 1930s when Plymouth took over that title. Fargo went to Canada until 1972. Fargo trademark ended in 1978 in the US of A. 1957, Dodge offered two cab variants for the rear window situation. You had the standard cab with the window in the center, and then I don't know if they called this the deluxe cab or what they called it. It had a wraparound windshield. It almost had the same sort of visibility as like a 5-window, because Dodge and Chevy both did 5-window cabs, and this was a lot like that. Dodge also offered two bed types, the regular standard step-side bed, and they offered the sweep side bed. And the sweep side bed was a direct response to Chevy's fleet side bed, because both Dodge and Ford, they were just standing there with their pants around their ankles. They didn't have a plan for a bed like that, and they wanted to make competition to go against Chevy and their bed. So Dodge took an extra step further and added fins to it, and they're super rare. They only made them from 1957 to 1959. They made 1,260 total. The sweep side was introduced halfway through the 57 model year because they ran into problems. They legitly took the fins off of the wagon assembly line and just tacked them to the top of the truck bed, but they had to fabricate the tailgate to function properly without hitting the fins as it was closing. Also worth pointing out is the truck bed design on the fleet side for the Chevy and the sweep side for the Dodge were full, like they were seamless, as in streamlined. They didn't have the bubbles for the wheel arches. It was all part of the bed, similar to how trucks are now, but that wasn't ever seen until Chevy did it with the fleet side. I just wanted to mention that. Our truck is not that, though. Our truck is just a standard step-side bed. Let's talk engines. Dodge offered two engines for the half-ton truck. The base engine was a flathead. Yes, you heard that right. 1957 flathead 6. It was a 230 cubic inch displacement unit. This engine dates clear back to 1942, and this engine would go on until 1960 when it was replaced with the slant 6. Bore 3 4.25 inches. Stroke 4.58 inches. Compression 8-to-1 compression. The firing order was 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, 4. It made 138 horsepower at 4,000 RPM, 208 foot-pounds of torque at 1,600 RPMs. The average running temperature, the best running temperature for this engine is between 190 and 200 degrees. Oil pressure between 45 and 50 at speed. Oil. Now, these are all baseline numbers. They're all going to depend on where you live and all kinds of different variables, really. Straight 30 weight. Don't use detergent oil. Make sure it has zinc in it. Or you could use 10W30. The second engine was a 315 V8 Red Ram. Now this engine, there's a lot of misconceptions about this engine. It is not a Hemi. It was labeled a semi-Hemi because the block is the same block, but it does not have hemispherical heads. It is a polyhead engine. So if you ever see a 315 advertised as a Hemi, it's not true. It's not like it's false advertising. It's just... there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people, because they see Red Ram, that's what the Hemi was called, but it was a 241 cubic inch displacement unit, not a 315. Okay, a bit of a side note. Chrysler, DeSoto, and Dodge, they all three had Hemis. Plymouth came out with a V8 in 1955, but it wasn't a Hemi. Chrysler's Hemi was a 331. DeSoto was 276. Dodge was 241. And it gets confusing because Dodge called their engine the Red Ram. It's marketed on this truck as the Red Ram 315, but the 315 is a poly head. It was advertised as a semi-Hemi because it had everything that the Hemi had except the heads. The heads were poly heads, so it's not a Hemi engine. To add more confusion to this, Dodge also advertised their Hemi as a Power Giant. Anything that said Power Giant had a Hemi in it, but they didn't offer the Power Giant in the half-ton truck from what I've read. The Power Giants are mostly for all the like 1 to 1.5 to 2 ton trucks. Anyway, getting back to the 315 V8 Red Ram, 5.2 liter. It made 200 horsepower with a 2-barrel carburetor. Bore was 3.6 inches. Stroke was 3.8 inches. Compression was 8.5 to 1. Moving on to transmissions, Dodge offered a 3-speed automatic that was a push-button unit, as well as a 3-speed on the column shift unit. All right, getting inside, notice the colors. It's like jean jacket blue and green, and there's some chrome with some white and black. There's a lot of colors going on. Let's move on to the button switches and knobs. All the way to the left-hand side is the light switch. This dashboard is so basic. Oil, heat, amp, fuel, and then you have your speedometer, which is a round dial with an odometer in it, and those are your gauges. Just check out the forward look logo on the center of the steering wheel. Ashtray is located right next to the ignition switch, which is down towards the bottom of the dashboard. The glove box is located right in the center. There's 2 knobs off to the side. That one says T and one says H. I'm assuming the H is for the heat. I have no idea what the T does. In the comment section below if you know. Just wanted to show you how these door handles operate. So just check that out. Here's the door panel. It's blue. Feels like a vinyl material. Might be plastic even. Look at this armrest or door handle, whatever you use it for. Door handle to get out. Window crank for the big window. Here's what the vent window looks like. So just check out the pedal box. High beam switch on the floor where it should be. I'm not entirely sure what this is. I don't know if this is like a handbrake. That's kind of like what it seems like it would be. Clutch, brake, gas pedal. A lot of these old vehicles will have hidden compartments underneath the floorboard like this truck has. So underneath this hidden compartment is where your battery is located. So it's always good to know where your battery's at, because it wasn't under the hood, it has to be somewhere else. This particular one, it is in the floor of the driver's side. And just look at how much space you have in here. It's very echo. Lots of headroom. These are your turn signals. This looks like an aftermarket unit that was added after the fact. This one's got turn signals as well as hazard. Well, it says hazard lights on it. This is your glove box. Lots of room in this truck. Lots and lots of room. So that's the situation underneath the steering wheel. Here's what I look like in the truck. Lots of headroom, lots of arm room. It's very, very big in here. The dashboard actually is way, way ahead of me. That one's a little tricky. You have to pull it all the way in and then push up on it at the same time. It's really hard to video and show and actually do it. Okay, moving on to the pros and cons section. I am getting all these pros and cons from the complete book of collectible cars, blue chip, auto investment, 70 years from 1930 to 2000. On the pro side, good performance with available V8, smooth ride, good handling, build quality, excellent visibility when equipped with a wraparound rear windshield. Against it, steering is both slow and really heavy. Manual transmission is hard to shift sometimes. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, toodaloo!